And well, that's a lot of people I have to get really close to. Okay. I had like 4 or 5 up here. No, I will stay down here on the on my nice little path here. So keep that as clear as possible for me. I won't get too close to anybody. So don't freak out. But if you don't trust me, you're more than welcome to move away. I know I probably stink too. It's nice and hot out here. But this is my friend Juliet. Now Juliet is a rainbow boa that we have here at Alligator Adventure. And before you ask many silly questions like why is she called a rainbow boa when she's brown and black and neither of those colors are on the rainbow, I will go ahead and show you. Luckily we have a nice sunny day out here. But especially these front couple rows here, you can probably see that in the right light, her skin does give off this blue teal iridescence. Kind of like this little colorful sheen she has. Might be a little hard to see in some light, but if you do want to see a closer look at Juliet in the light, come up to me after the show and I'll be more than happy to show you. But that is where she gets her name from, that really cool iridescence, kind of like you're looking through a kaleidoscope. I'm sure you've all done something like that before. I'm trying to move around as much as possible, trying to get all the angles, but sometimes it's a little harder to see than other days. Right after she sheds, it's really prominent, really pretty. But that is where she gets her name. Now she is native to Central and South America, so she likes those hot, humid, wooded areas like the rainforest, jungle area, stuff like that, where there's plenty of prey, plenty of trees, plenty of cover, plenty of camouflage, stuff like that. Now these snakes will max out right around 6 feet and like anywhere between 4 to 6 feet. Now females typically grow a little bit longer than males do. Now Juliet here is a female, and I would put her at about 4 feet when she's fully straight, maybe a little bit more when she's fully relaxed. I don't know how close, well that's pretty good actually, but I don't know how close I can get her to fully relax for you guys, but she is relatively long when she's perfectly straight out, but another foot and a half to grow on her. Now these snakes will live to about 20 years. So, if you do want a pet snake, this guy is not the snake that's going to grow 20, 25 feet and look at your dog funny or anything like that. So they do make a really good pet snake, but keep in mind, like I said, if you do want to get one, make sure that you're prepared to have him for about 20 years, because oftentimes people will buy these snakes and ball pythons, stuff like that, and they will realize how long they live or how big they get, and they'll either get bored, tired, scared of them, etc., and they'll let them go in the wild, and that's where you get problems like we have down in the Everglades with the reticulated and Burmese pythons down there, where they're being released at a rapid rate, and they're reproducing. But more on Juliet here. So you'll see she's not venomous. Thank God, or I would be freaking out right now, right? I wouldn't want to hold any kind of venomous snake, especially out in front of you guys. That's a problem. But luckily for me, Juliet here is a boa constrictor, and she's a constricting snake, which means that unlike a venomous snake, Juliet cannot rely on just her bite to kill her prey. So her bite is not actually designed to do so. In fact, her bite is not designed to disable, disorient, injure, or hurt, or even cause pain really to anything. All her bite is designed to do is to hold on to something really well. So their bites actually don't hurt, but they do have about 100 needle-sharp teeth in their mouth, and they all point backwards, back to her throat. Now those are called recurved teeth because they point backwards. And what that allows Juliet to do is to latch onto something, and it makes it virtually impossible for whatever she latches onto to get out without her wanting to. So even when we're bit, like big, us humans, we pretty much can't get out of that grasp unless Juliet opens her mouth. So obviously we're way too big for her to swallow or eat or anything, but if she feels threatened, you know, bites happen quite often. Here we do have a lot of snakes.
She's smelling
and
everybody,
oftentimes
everything.
the snake is the one that lets go. We don't get out because those bites are specifically designed to hold on to something. You can imagine if you get bit and you're trying to pull out against the grain of those recurved teeth, it's going to be pretty hard. So especially with the size of the animals that Juliet's going to be going after, there's really no escaping that grasp there. Now that's going to allow Juliet enough time to wrap her body around that prey several times over and over, and she's going to squeeze tighter and tighter with every constriction. And as she squeezes, she's going to constrict the blood vessels in that prey, and oftentimes that prey's heart is not going to be able to pump against that pressure. So a lot of people think that these snakes, when they constrict, they're actually suffocating the animal, or they can't breathe, or something like that. That's not the case. They're actually going to send that prey into cardiac arrest. So it's not going to be lack of air or lack of oxygen. This cardiac arrest is going to dispatch these guys' next meal. Now typically, they will wait until that is over, and then they'll swallow whatever they have whole and digest it over about 1 to 3 days, depending on how big it is. And these guys will eat any kind of small rodent, so rats, mice, rabbits, squirrels, possums, especially when they get those larger that 6 foot size. These guys max out at that size. They can eat a little bit of a bigger meal, like a small raccoon or something like that. But these guys are also semi-arboreal.
Mhm.
They can
Flamingos.
spend a lot of the time on the ground and
Flamingos.
climb trees as well. So they can spend a lot of their time in trees as well. So squirrels, birds,
It was
things you're going to find in
birds.
trees are also on the menu for this guy here. So she has a pretty wide range of diet of things that she can eat. Now here she eats mice, which is also something that she would eat in her natural habitat. So she's growing just fine. Now they don't need to eat quite that often. Once every 10 to 14 days, probably good to these guys, 7 to 10 days maybe. It's probably good for these snakes. You don't want to overfeed them, but you don't want to underfeed them. So these guys can go several months without food, but at that point it starts to become urgent that these guys have another meal again. To keep them full, to keep them growing, and to keep them healthy. Once every 7 to 10 days is about how often they need to eat. That gives them plenty of time to digest their meal, get it through
He
their
said
system,
you're not allowed
and,
to touch them due
work
to
up
the
that appetite for
virus,
the
the
next one as well.
COVID.
So that's
Not
about
allowed
how
to
often they
touch
eat here,
them,
and that's
but
about
I
how often they
wish.
would probably
Maybe we'll
eat
go
in the
somewhere
wild
where
as
we
well.
can touch them, okay?
So we keep
Xander wants to
that
hold
pattern
you.
going here. Now you'll notice on her back, she just has this
Say
nice
what shade.
dark
Huh?
tan
Did
coloration.
you say what
And that's
shade?
obviously going to be her camouflage. She's going to use that to blend in
Now,
with the sticks and the
small
leaves and the
rodents.
dirt and everything she's going to be on top of when we're looking down on her. Now she also has this nice white underside here, this white belly. We call that counter shading. Now what that means is that they have this nice dark and coloration pattern
don't
on
have
the
no
top of their back
Pepsi.
here that'll help them blend in with anything that they're on top of. But if they're up in a tree, or if they're swimming in water or anything like that, and we look underneath of them, her underside is going to blend in with a nice bright blue or white sky, especially with that sun shining down. It's going to make it really hard to see from
Hold
pretty
on,
much
I'll
any
give you a
angle we
feel.
look at her
Give
from.
me a feel.
And that's going to make it much easier for her to hunt, and a lot harder for her to be hunted as well. So that's kind of like a safety feature for these guys, and it works quite well in their natural habitat. Now we talked about what she eats, and she does have a few tricks up her sleeve to find her next meal out in the wild. Now their eyesight is not that great, and these guys typically hunt at nighttime. So they have a few things that help them hunt at night to make up for that lack of good eyesight. And one of them she has in common with every other snake in the entire world. Venomous, non-venomous, doesn't really matter. If I hold her head out here, you'll see that every couple seconds, Juliet's going to flick out her tongue in the air like that. Now what she's doing is she's using her tongue just like we would use our noses. So that is Juliet's sense of smell. So she's going to flick her tongue out in the air, and it's going to pick up a bunch of little particles out in the air. And she's going to bring it back into her mouth and rub it against something called a Jacobson's organ right on the roof of her mouth. And what that is going to do is pick up those particles off of that tongue and interpret them into scents and smells. And it's going to let Juliet know what's in the air around her. And just like me and you can distinguish between a chocolate chip cookie and apple pie, Juliet here can distinguish between predators, birds, prey, rodents, stuff like that. So she can definitely realize what is around her. She can smell when it's meal time here. She knows when it's eating time and when it's not, because she can smell those rodents coming in. Now, she does have one other thing that will help her out, as a lot of other ball pythons and constricting snakes do that hunt at nighttime, and they're actually called heat pits. So a lot of ball pythons and other constricting snakes will have this as well, right on the tips of their noses. She will have these little pits we call heat pits. And it's sort of like a built-in biological infrared system. She can sense body heat in the jungle at nighttime, and she can sense large heat signatures, small heat signatures, and she can use that in combination with that smell to determine what her next action is going to be. So she can either run and hide or go and investigate. She thinks she can make it into a meal, she's going to go investigate or set up an ambush or something like that. So that is one pretty cool feature that she does have that we don't. And I'm quite jealous because I think it'd be kind of cool to see heat instead of just light. So, any questions on Juliet or rainbow boas or ball pythons or life? All right, you guys are doing pretty good then. All right, cool. So, if that's the case, I will go ahead and slide Juliet back in her little hidey hole, and I'll head right back outside and grab your next animal for you guys. But if
here,
anybody wants to
Xander.
get a closer look at Juliet or take
Wait.
any pictures with her or ask
Stay
any
back here.
questions
Yeah.
after the show, I will be right over there in that corner just to ask me about her, and I'll be more than happy to bring her back out for you guys and give you another look at her. And I love answering questions, so please ask away.